Today we learn about hypergamy in real life.
Women are hypergamous, which means that they meet outside of abdominance hierarchies. As a result, if you're a male who succeeds in a given hierarchy, the likelihood that you'll have additional mating opportunities is incredibly high. Hypergamy is a very uncomfortable topic of discussion, but there are plenty of others. The one that stands out, though, is the idea that it defines women's sexual preferences. Brilliant response. It's a business-focused response. Actually, it's a biological solution that seems to have prompted our evolutionary divergence from chimpanzees. What is the cost? Polygamy. Of course, so we rein that in with enforced monogamy because it appears that this is another point I was making that wasn't covered in the article, although I wrote about it quite a bit on my blog. Societies tilt towards monogamy across the world as human universal now. That doesn't mean that people don't have polygamous or polyamorous tendencies, because they most certainly do, and it's also the cost. Women choose a monogamous marriage and cheat with high-status guys to solve the issue you just described. And I'm not saying anything for or against this because this is just a factual biological claim. However, this is a very uncomfortable subject for women because they don't like the idea that this is a common thing, that women choose a safe man who is willing to be monogamous. Okay, so my son is getting married in September. So what if he comes to me in a year and says, "Hey Dad, guess what? I've had 3 affairs in the last year and they have all been successful. I haven't gotten caught. Aren't I a good guy?" If I respond, "No, that's not what you're supposed to be doing," that's enforced monogamy. Enforcementogamy. It means that those around you try to lead them. For whatever reason, they may still be jealous, insecure, or not believing you. How does one get someone to trust them? Or is it not about them at that point and it's about the other person and their insecurities? Well, it depends very much on the specifics. If you are transparent about every decision you make in your life, if you know they have access to whatever they want to see, and if you're constantly building trust, then it depends on why. Consequences of doing that versus not doing it. And then I'd add that whenever there's a hiccup in the relationship, perhaps don't call it out at each hiccup, because you need to have a certain level of silent tolerance to let small infractions go in any relationship. But if they repeat, my rule is 3 times, and it's the rule that my wife and I share. If something happens 3 times that is causing emotional upset, anger, jealousy, disappointment, resentment, there appeared to be some flirting going on, which made me uneasy. Instead of saying, "Well, you were flirting, stop doing it," you should say, "This is how it looked to me, and here is my response." You should then consider whether or not I'm a fool, blind, jealous, or stupid, or whether it was simply a harmless flirtation of the kind that people will engage in because it's socially acceptable. You're going to be interacting with this person on a minute-by-minute basis for decades. So if you're the idiot and that's causing trouble, then you should find out so you want to say something. But you've got to think about this. In the long run, you're going to be interacting with this person on a minute-by-minute basis for decades. Then they will give you their perspective, and hopefully they will do the same thing as you by thinking, "Well, this is my intent," and maybe they have to go think about it. But this is my perspective. It's really difficult, especially if there is something going on that isn't straight, because that will require quite a bit of digging. It'll probably result in anger and tears and to fight, and that's very unpleasant. So I think you're being overly sensitive in that situation. You peel back the explanations layer by layer until you both agree on what happened, and more importantly, what you're going to do about it moving forward. I learned from Carl Jung, a psychoanalyst, that there is a reason marriage was a vow like that. And you have to pay attention to your own uncomfortable negative emotions in order to manage that. Don't pretend that everything is fine, that you're nicer than you are, that you're less jealous than you are, or that you're less blind. Or see, one of the things I learned from Carl Jung, the psychoanalyst, about marriage was that there is a reason marriage was the vow is to stick together. So imagine that as a vow. You are not permitted to leave at any time, so what does that entail? On the plus side, your family will have someone to talk to since you won't have to be alone.
Thanks for watching. Come back soon.